Hello, my name's He Who Is in the Water. Gonna be playing some Pauper today, and I know I'm doing it again. Just like, hold on, give me a second. So, we're gonna be playing more of the red deck, but it's just been so much fun. I'm feeling a lot of improvement with it, getting a better understanding of the deck, and the games I think are just really fun. And I'm still on the hunt for that trophy. So I know it's like the third time in a row, or not in a row, but like this is the third time playing the red deck, but it's so cool. It's so awesome. I just love this deck. So, still haven't been able to get quite the result that I wanted with it. And I've started taking more meticulous notes for myself and kind of keeping track of like more statistics, which is absolutely a coping mechanism for my baby rage at like not being able to get the trophy that I want. But is also just like generally a good thing that if you want to get better at Magic, like that can help direct you to some ways to improve. So one of the things I noticed right away, taking more detailed stats, the game 1 win rate with this deck was horrible. It was like of like the first 15 or so matches I recorded, I think I won a single game 1. Of course, small sample size, but it does generally reflect a feeling that I've had with the deck before that. So it was something that I noticed from the statistics, and definitely like the experience of playing the deck was reinforcing that conclusion. That game 1, it's not looking so good across the board. And on the last video, or really, in like all the videos, or the 2 videos before I've talked about how in the sideboard I've tended to move away from Rebirth as a way of our opponents being more prepared and having access to more sweepers. It's just a card that you want to de-emphasize, and then use Kessig Flame Breather in its stead to be better versus sweepers. And also similar to what I talked about in the last video, where we had like this sideboard Drawsword bridge that moved into the main, we're just kind of moving things more from the sideboard to the main deck, since the post-board games are a lot more smoother on the whole. And I've generally been pretty pleased with that process. So what's happened here is that we have just cut Kuldotha Rebirth from the deck, and we're playing Kessig Flame Breather over it, basically, is the long and short of it. So from the list I played last time, -3 Rebirth, -2 Chromatic Star, and then +4 Kessig Flame Breather, and getting back in that second Firebolt that I just love. So we are becoming a more resilient and mid-rangey deck this way. We're a little less explosive, but the explosiveness of Rebirth is really not great right now. I feel like the meta has adjusted to it really well, which, if nothing else, if you take away from all of this, I mean, not if nothing else, I use that too much. I think a very strong conclusion that I can draw from the almost 200 matches I've played with this deck now is that the format has reacted and contained this red deck completely fine. It's taken a lot. There's a lot of decks that have come and gone, or like decks that are present in the metagame because they compete with the red deck and maybe didn't compete against decks that were in the metagame before Swiftspear got downshifted and other cards got downshifted, or MH2 happened and all that. I still hate the bridges. But the format has adequately contained the red decks, and that is through the use of cards that keep the board under control for the early turns. So Thraben Inspector is a card that Nerd to the Core Alex Ullman talked about. It was a pretty good meme, I will say, of like, just play more Thraben Inspector. Is sort of like, it is that simple to just add more to the board, but also like Thraben Inspector itself doesn't really get the job done, but it is very good versus Kuldotha Rebirth, and that's something you see from the blue-black decks, that the Philology Archaeologist, or it should just be Augur of Bolas. The fact that Augur of Bolas doesn't see play in this format right now is nuts to me in that blue-black deck. I don't understand it. And I've played with both, and Augur just massively outperforms to me. But like they're reasonably close to the same card in that deck. Or not reasonably close, they're competing for the same slot. But the strength of that card is like, so much on blocking early tokens. And I guess the one that like really just hit me over the head of like, don't play Kuldotha Rebirth anymore is when the mono blue fairies deck that's good right now, or seeing play right now, with Brine Barrow Intruder. That card's an embarrassment. That Brine Barrow Intruder in your constructed deck is just, it looks so bad to me. But by golly, does it beat up Kuldotha Rebirth. Beats the living tar out of that card. If you're just trying to like go Swift Spear into turn 2 Rebirth and they just go Brine Barrow Intruder and your board just doesn't do anything for 2 turns because of this 1 mana 1/2, it's really strongly signaling to me to move away from Rebirth, which is again contrary to what a lot of like the Blast Runner decks with Fire Blast, Goblin Bushwhacker are more focused on drawing as many copies of Rebirth as possible. So I'm really trying to veer it a bit differently than that and go more resilient, more mid-rangey, which is just like, that's the kind of thing that Impulse and Synthesizer let you do. And so I really want to focus on doing that. So again, this idea of being Kuldotha-less is a direction that I have been headed in for a while, as I've kind of buried the lead on it for a long time, where I don't even call this deck Kuldotha Red. I've just kind of referred to it as Red. Although I do have a deck list over here named Kuldotha. I have just tried to stick with naming it Red because I have not felt through the whole process that Kuldotha Rebirth was the star of the deck. It can be a very good card in the archetype, but when you're naming the deck after it, it just doesn't feel right because, in my opinion, there's like only 2 Sacred Cows in this deck. There's only 2 cards that I would be uncomfortable playing a deck list that had less than 4 of them, and that's Lightning Bolt and Monastery Swiftspear. I think there's a lot, like, there's room, and I think I am open to suggestion that builds with like different numbers of different things, you know, maybe having less card draw, because goodness knows I'm getting dirtily now, but like maybe there is value in cutting your curve, being more playing to the board early. But Swiftspear and Bolt are really the only cards I'm just like, you can't justify to me right now playing less than 4 of those cards, but I could believe that, you know, any of the rest of these could be tweaked to find a better mix. But with that being the case, I've just always hated the name Kuldotha Red, and I've just stuck with calling it Red for the time being. So without Kuldotha Rebirth in the deck, Implement of Combustion is kind of the last clunky synergy card, as it doesn't have like the dream draw of going turn 1 Swiftspear, turn 2 Implement plus Rebirth, but it still is very good with Forge Chanter and Flame Breather at adding up all of these Death by 1,000 cuts. Can be really useful. But as I've leaned into that being more mid-rangey and more card advantage focused, I'm inviting a good old friend, Spare Supplies, off the bench to see how this card performs as another slower draw 2, like Reckless Impulse and Experimental Synthesizer, that also plays pretty cool with Galvanic Blast. Is it good? Probably not, but it's very cute and I love it. So I'm trying 1 for now. Presumably will be closer to 0 than 2, but I always want to be trying things, and this has just kind of been in the back of my head to see how this card does in the archetype with a little bit. So moving on to the sideboard, with the Flame Breathers gone from the sideboard to the main deck now, it frees up 3 slots that I didn't have before. I have elected to put Relic of Progenitus in there in an attempt to help the blue-black Terra matchup, although I am not terribly hopeful about that, but I do want to see if, again, maybe I'm wrong, because I've gotten feedback that the relics do help the matchup more than I am currently understanding, so wanting to give that a shot. Also played versus Goblin combo when I had the relics in here, and that was pretty funny. that was pretty mean, because we're already beating up on the Goblin combo with playing to the board early and just having a ton of instant speed interaction, but then relic on top of that was mean. And since the last video, I do want to comment on Shattering Blow versus Smash to Smithereens. Played versus Affinity 4 times since then and gone 3-1, and I've generally been pretty impressed with Shattering Blow. It just does a really good job of always making, or you're always going to disrupt them on turn 2 basically with it, and broadening that range and keeping, especially if you're on the play, and you go like turn 1 Swift Spear, turn 2 Shattering Blow, destroy their land before they get an Ichor Wellspring going or something like that. It's just really fantastic tempo to prevent them from getting their 2 drops in play, and it's good later to removing Mirror Enforcers and other such. So I think I'm sticking with that over Smash to Smithereens for now, but happy to report that I have developed a more structured opinion, and I'm a fan of this. And without further ado, I mean, the rest of the deck is largely the same. The second Firebolt is just a very cute card, and I missed it, and I like having that extra value there with these Flame Breathers. So I think that just about covers it. So let's get into the league. Okay, round number 1 versus Sayana. I do not know anything about this player. This hand is not great at playing to the board, but has a tremendous amount of burn. So, very excited to keep this one. Seems somewhat likely we'll just be firing off this Impulse on turn 2. Let's see. They want to offer the trade first. Well, I mean, I want to offer this trade. I think there's no way they take it, but happy to fire off that into the void because this prevents them from profitably ninjaing us this turn, which I think is something I'm pretty interested in. Land's a pretty awesome draw here. Forge Chanter is a really difficult card for them to deal with this early on. So I think I am... Yep, this is the scripted play that drawing the land opened us up to. If they have Mutagenic Growth there, it gets pretty bad for us, but I think if they had Mutagenic Growth before, they may have blocked and done that. Unsure. So now's the ninja turn. Okay, the 1-mana ninja is definitely rough here. Oh, I mean, kind of. The fact that Epicure blocks this one is kind of sweet for us. And them deploying Fairy Seer does indicate that it's likely that Epicure can block this turn. If they wish to snap my Epicure on this coming turn, I don't feel like that's an issue. Some temptation to try to blast that while they're tapped out, but this is probably the Brine Barrow now. Yeah. So on end step here, we're just going to cycle one of these implements. And where we go from here is interesting. Because we might be... Ooh. 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 Okay. I think we just start on impulse because we can Galvblast a sprite if they do this again. Delightful. And just kill the sprite because it's the most dangerous to pick back up. But you're watching a Pauper video on the depths of YouTube, you know this. They're tapped out, so it's like kind of tempting to get this second synthesizer down, just because that 2/2 next turn is like really big game. So I think I'm going to do it even if I'm not guaranteed to like access a card off it. And I think the chunk for 4 is worth a good bit here. Especially because I'm not really doing anything to keep them from ninjaing. One thing I will say for my intro that, you know, cuts both ways of like, it's nicer to have, or Kuldotha Rebirth is nice to not have versus Brine Barrow Intruder. On the other hand, Kuldotha Rebirth is very nice to have versus Moon Circuit Hacker, so it's not all upside. It is like kind of tempting because I get to resolve like one spell here. So I think I will do that, even though this is likely just to be Counterspell or the third sprite. What? I didn't think I would get this far. So we know they have the Intruder in hand, but why do they discard Of One Mind? Because like if your Intruder's your flash threat, then like you just use your 1 mana to cast again, and then... Okay, I don't know. Maybe that means the hand is Spell Pierce plus Intruder, and then I don't want to run my spell into that. That seems like a real thing. Attacking into the Intruder just does nothing here. If they wanted to, and I'd rather not let them just have access to everything they want. This, okay. I'm also confused by this because I'm like very interested in doing some blocks on your creatures this coming turn. I don't know what's happening right now. Hitting a bunch of lands on those was like not ideal. We had like a good opportunity to be ahead on cards, and like we're really not right now. Strong possibilities there's another Intruder in their hand. Oh, right, they just pick it up here with the third ninja that they've drawn. So if that's the case, then I want to go block. But I think we're pretty dead this game. Which is unfortunate because we started off pretty strong. But the fact that those 2 galvanic blasts we saw earlier has been the only removal that we've accessed, I think has just been too little too late. I say that we have like draws here that can kill our opponent, but can't really respect the 3rd sprite in these situations. Just gotta put our things on the table. And pass. Okay, no 3rd ninja is pretty awesome for us. Hold that for the time being. Getting 2 prowess triggers just makes these swift spears unkillable in combat. Not unkillable, but good, and just going into combat on their turn with prowess triggers is nice too. I don't think I wanted to kill the miscreant in response there. That's a little greedy. So if they hit ninja here, it's disgusting. Okay. There's hope. I don't really care if this resolves. It's, better than not having it in play. But it's not terribly crucial to if we win this game. Just please don't draw ninjas or counter spells. Lands kind of looks like neither of those things. I believe I'm just supposed to slam and just say, hey, this is a lot of power and toughness coming your way. Alright, so this is just gonna happen. My thought here is if I'm attacking with this flame breather, so even if it resolves and they don't block the flame breather, that takes 5, goes down to 1, and I could still be dead to a number of things. I feel like the possibility of mutagenic growth for my opponent means I'm just like have a lot of ways to die. That wasn't a coherent thought. I don't know if I should be thinking about mutagenic growth here. But if I bolt upstairs, they have to... I guess let me just fire this off and see if this resolves. Because this does inform quite a bit. I guess I'm not attacking. Just... oh, it looks like I'm dead. Because now they don't have to make as many blocks. Is that a reason to attack with Flame Breather? I feel like that card just kills me. Here. Interesting game. I don't like how I made a lot of decisions necessarily. Or, well, I mean, I think a lot of it did come down to like not having as much interaction in the early game as I wanted to. Maybe they cast mutagenic growth. I'd like for them to do that. Alright. So, End the Festivities at 4 copies is a lot, but I do think it's where we want to be. Rage Hound is just fantastic for these kind of matchups. Epicure and Implement are our weakest cards. But I think I'll... Epicure versus Implement is tough. I think probably just Implement. Keep the gas flowing on our cards. Epicure just doesn't do nearly enough. Sounds awesome. Awesome. They just gotta slam into the blue blasts now. You don't beat them by waiting, I don't believe. Especially not with our hand this stacked. Play the card that doesn't play into Spellstutter Sprite. This is nice. I will kill literally any creature they put in with Flash. Kind of bait the Spellstutter here. We do lose the Galvanic Blast here, but I think this is okay. Synthesizer's pretty important in this matchup. The 2/2 body is just very useful. And that Galvanic Blast did do a lot of work for letting us sequence that turn and get those into play, even if it didn't net the... unfortunately, Brian Barrow... you don't have to pay this 2 life. You do have to target it, which is kind of funny. It's not up to. You do have to pick it, but they just don't have to pay the ward. And it's... I don't know. I wish it was cooler. So they have mutagenic growth if they make that attack, but okay. They do not. Yay, it's the ninja we need. Do the impulse first, because if we hit and end the festivities off the impulse, makes our turn different. waiting for this 1 to change to a 4. A little damage. Ah, there it is. Okay, we're in there. Alright, the chain lightning has resolved. If they snap me, I don't really care that much. I will probably just bolt the spray on instep if they let me. Delightful. We know they have a sprite in hand, so if I bolt upstairs, it's really only dealing 1 damage, and I think the inconvenience of, like, making... Or I guess it's 2. Oh, because of the flame, but maybe that was bad. Maybe that was better. Okay, that was... Scratch all that. But I'm still just gonna keep casting. It's a lot of land. So presumably they have another Brine Barrow Intruder at this point. How bad is that for me? Not very bad. So I think we can attack into that and be somewhat safe. Yeah, kind of wishing I had bolted them last turn, but that 2 damage would have been... But then they would have had the spray in play. Things would be scarier. I don't really hate it. It's just, without knowing their hand, it's tough to say like what was really the best thing to do. I would like to draw another spell here. I really don't care what like non-creature spell I draw here. I'll just slam it on the table. Tasty. That counts. That very much counts. This is all pretty straightforward. Yep. You do the spell stutter sprite. We let this go. Then we cast End the Festivities. I think that's lethal in and of itself. And it is. So I didn't need to draw a Galvanic Blast, but that definitely was the hope of, like, you know, if this last card was a Blue Blast or something, it makes my life easier. But cool. Some interesting turns there, especially with the synthesizers on, like, kind of unusual circumstances. I think there's 2 times there where I just let cards float off into exile without casting them. And it kind of pains my soul to do that, but that's what we gotta do. On the draw, maybe I'll take Epicure over Implement. Sure. Gonna be doing a little bit more blocking. No thank you. No thank you. As ever, feels horrible to be on the draw versus a Fairies deck. Can one End the Festivities really hold me together? And no, we got a mulligan. Okay. This is tough. So the 2 interactive spells in the land I am 100% keeping. Cannot be convinced otherwise. Even though one's a sorcery. The other consideration is that we've mulliganed, so that these draw 2s are going to be really important for helping us unmulligan. So I feel like the Flame Breather is definitely going back. I'm thinking on Second Impulse versus the Swift Spear is what I'm not sure to mulligan. It is kind of nice to have a turn 1 play. So, and we don't have the second land lined up, so I think I'm going to keep the Swift Spear. Just because this forces them to interact with us, and hopefully that slows the game down to let us draw out of our mulligan. But I'm just going to firebolt this. I don't care. It's going away. If you got Muta, you got Muta. Land. Drawing the second impulse also pretty funny there after hemming and hawing over that for a little bit. Okay. I like this, especially because this says, hey, please blue blast me. And this is just, we're playing with the blinders on. Like, we kill it because we don't want them to ninja, and we've got these 2 drops in our hand that we don't want to get Spellstutter sprited. We just put it into play. If you've got Brine Barrow Intruder, congratulations, you've done it. You have once again played the card that is good against literally no other deck in the metagame. It is only effective against red. You have main decked 4 copies of it. Do you just like put this in versus Affinity and you're like, haha, that Gurmag Angler's a 3/5. Whoa. Slamming this impulse while we can. If you get Spell Pierced or Blue Blasted, that's okay. Because we got another one. They didn't have the ninja this turn, so also we can't do anything about it, so I'm just quite content to attack here. I think letting them have the option of ninjaing back their intruder instead of the seer, like I don't think that's a decision that matters. So I think it's pretty likely that they drew the land and not the other card that's in their hand, so I think I can reasonably assume that it's not a Spellstutter Sprite, which is just the real fear of getting this impulsed here. And sure. I don't know why you played the Fairy Seer last turn then. I don't know. Please don't ninja me now. That would be a crime. I hate you. I hate you so much. How do you do that? How do you just draw Spellstutter into the 1-mana ninja? How do you do that? How do you do that? I guess they did have a Fairy Seer. Is like the very... What did they... I it's been ages since... Oh no, I shouldn't have even looked. You shouldn't have looked, Water. I shouldn't have looked. I just shouldn't have looked. Okay. So... we do have this Firebolt in the graveyard. Do I want to play... or I am going to play this land, but do I want to get my Firebolt Spellstuttered or my Flame Breather Spellstuttered? And it's probably the Firebolt. So we're just going to pass here. And probably have to block the Moonstruck attacker. And they've drawn another ninja. Great. Having a lot of fun. Yep. Just get rid of the card selection as much as I really want to kill the Spellstutter Sprite. I'm just going to have to Fate Ninja for 1 turn. If we draw a land, then we can kill the Sprite and we can start taking over. Hopefully. Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad that I was part of this game. Alright, just Reckless Impulse into... Oh, now we got the ninja. Oh, it's the 1-mana ninja too. Don't worry, not the 2-mana ninja. Would not have wished for you not to be able to have a counterspell up in this turn. So sorry that was even a possibility. Okay, alright. Good games, opponent. Let's go to round 2 before I lose my mind. This is what it looks like when you don't trophy for 120 leagues. It just gets worse. Okay, here we are, round number 2. We've gotten it out of our system. We're versus Tart, friend of the channel, an excellent Magic player. And excited for this match. And this is an interesting hand. These are kind of difficult ones to know, like what's the best sequence here. Because if they're so this is like difficult in the dark. If they're playing like the Mirror or something, or like Affinity, and they may have like Great Furnace, then Great Furnace into a Galvanic Blast, we may not, or we may want to have them play a tap land instead of that, and Epicure tends to lead to more of that. So I think I am just going to put the Epicure into play here and disguise the Swift Spear, because they're both like dealing 1 damage this turn. And it's also mono blue. Delightful. And I'm gonna get Brineborn again. I'm not attacking into it. I saw you tap the land. I know Tart likes mono blue, so I hate everything. I'm just getting punished on everything. I'm tilting so bad right now. Oh my god! I thought for sure that's what that was. I hate this. Magic is a great game. It's a great game. Oh boy. Okay. Alright, Flame Breather is pretty great. This lets us test the water and say, hey, you really need to counterspell this. Excellent. Now we'll attack for 2. Just crack our blood token. Thanks to the Drossford Bridge, we're pretty set on Metalcraft here. Would really love to see an interactive piece here. Reckless Impulse is very good. Just going to start on that. Spell Pierce would be a little rough here, but if it's just Counterspell, that's okay. I think I will run out my Synthesizer here. Collect a Bolt for my measures. Okay, so let's just start with an Epicure attack. Part of me just doesn't even want to do anything. That deck is so bad at using mana on things that aren't Spellstutter Sprite. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I think this Forge Chanter is just going to get bolted anyway. We're not really going to protect it. So, like, letting them use that red mana, I don't feel like is a huge deal. And just kind of gets it out of their hand. I don't hate this. Yeah, now the coast is clear. They know. This is single bolt. There would have been so punishing. Not in bad shape, but we're just getting ninja'd, which is just a terrible experience in Magic, which I've appreciated that most of this metagame has been devoid of. I think we just have to do this synth though, knowing that they've got the sprite in hand. I know that this gets countered by sprite, but I think I want to have this in place. So maybe my synthesizer next turn can connect. That would be nice. Snap in blue-red. Okay. Okay. I'm ready for that second ninja with no card selection. Just had it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Great. Excellent. Very close games, by the way. Just very close. Always just on the cusp. This may look like actually somewhat scary to them if they suspect I have Koldatha. That would be good on this board, but... Third ninja, I'm just going to concede the game. Okay. I think we just activate the synth here. Wisely draw our non-dispellable counterspell. Oh, cool, it didn't matter. Excellent. And you got a removal spell as that last card? Echoing Truth. Oh, we... Sure. Sure. I just missed the part where this is a main deck Dispel Echoing Truth Snap format. I missed the memo where all of these cards are good. Okay. So Underworld Rage Hound's again going to be great here. End the Festivities is significantly less useful, but is still like a pretty desirable effect to have in some quantities. So I think I will take out the 3 implements and 2 epicures. But I am also kind of tempted just to go all the way down on epicure. Let's try this. Let's go all the way down on epicure. Implement does go up in value when we're got these Rage Hounds that we're trying to fuel. Good news also from that is that the 2 damage that I missed early did not matter in the slightest. Did not matter in the slightest. I'm kind of priced into holding up this Galvanic Blast just to Fate Scred for this one turn. But just fire this one off into the void. It's going to get counterspelled, I believe. Alright. And I think we've just drawn too many lands now to be competitive. If these two were spells, I think we could have a shot at this, but no, we just don't. Like, I'm gonna fire it off because we have to. Like, counterspell does not get better for us. Probably inclined to Chain Lightning that on my turn. Well, we don't get to, like, do the thing. Oh, okay, well now I'm definitely Chain Lightning him. This could be a nice opportunity to draw End the Festivities. Even just as a 1-for-1, it's okay. But if they have a Monarch card, we're absolutely destroyed. Hey, that's kind of nice. It did board out all my Procures, yeah, so the land in hand is... I've seen Spell... Every blue deck has a chance to be on Spell Pierce, so I guess I'm gonna... I don't even know. I don't know why I'm still playing this game, even. They're just so absolutely dead. Woodwater Ponder looks nice, though. And as much as I want to say I hate foils on Moto, this foil Volatile Fjord, that looks pretty nice. It's not really too realistic to like be trying to draw up a critical massive burn here to send upstairs. This is all likely just going to be used as removal. But Firebolt's really good removal to have versus fairies, so that's nice. If by some miracle any spell of ours were to resolve that looked like Reckless Impulse, then maybe we want to have some lands up for it. I don't know. Basically the second best thing for them to have here. Monarch card would be the best, but Augur is the next. Now I have to start this fight with Chain Lightning, and I kind of need Chain Lightning to resolve. If it's like another counterspell or Blue Blast, then we're in really rough shape. Well, now I guess I'm less worried if they don't want to fight over this. Okay, they just let that resolve. I feel like I can't let this synthesize. Like, they're just, it's not... Like, I know they tapped low, but there's just... Post-board, they're going to have such a variety of interaction. They've already shown these blue blasts, so it's like, I'm not going to be able to fight through multiples of those things. In that instance, I really need to be a bit more patient and have more threats, but another Augur Bolas is a horrific punishment to that line. Because now we're back to the same thing, except I don't have a 1-for-1 answer to this. So now I'm gonna have to like try. I have to shove on this turn because I'm just dead to the 2 ninjas they have in hand. Okay. Weird games. Now the question is, it's more interesting from their side. I will attempt to counter Spellstutter Sprite. They will probably have another one, or a 1-mana counter. Big money. We could do a lot worse than what just happened. We could do an absolute lot worse than what just happened to us there. That was pretty good. I'm getting ninja'd now, and I'm just going to lose anyway, but you know, we had our moment where we put some spells on the stack and they resolved. And that felt pretty nice. Pretty nice. It's gone forever, but it was there. Like, don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed that, like, for much of my time playing Magic, I have just farmed fairies, but, like, when people complain about this metagame in particular, it's like, do you not like that for the first time since, like, 2012, fairies isn't the most played deck? Like, is that not refreshing to you? Am I the only one? I don't know what's in their hand right now. I suppose probably at least one removal spell for this samurai token. I wonder if they leave in the snaps and echoing truths. That'd be kind of maniacal. Seems suspicious to me. It's a card that could have killed the samurai token. Maybe, I guess their hand's just so glutted on removal that icing it is fine because they've just got enough going on. Sure. Threats? Things that don't get counterspelled? I still got a fire. Yeah, we got a fireball in the graveyard, so we're fine with that one. Do this now because if they want to Spellstutter Sprite, it's a little bit better for us. Keep it simple, no board. I have Uro in play. Okay, this one, I guess this one's Kroxa. If you want to call Sacred Cat. Alright, we're going to see some of the downside. Just pretend the downside isn't there, okay? I'm just going to top deck our way out of it, so this whole, like, has to attack. God. Doesn't delightful. Perfect draw steps here. Okay. Okay. I see how it is, deck. I see how it is, deck. I'm holding this in the festivities. I mean, even if they can draw, like, so they're gonna draw here with Ninja, but it's not even like perfect shape for them. Like, this Rage Hound is, they're low enough that we are going to cause problems. I really didn't want to have to think about this. I bolt this now if they can't, so they can't snap the Sprite. Yay. Okay, we did it. Hooray. Okay. Underworld Ragehound, ladies and gentlemen. Underworld Ragehound. Mostly he just raged. Which has been kind of what I've been doing this week so far. Well, I hope the joy of it comes off. Like, again, little else in Magic brings me greater joy than grinding out fairies, but some of the draws have been obnoxious. So this is a 1-lander, but I'm on the draw. I interact reasonably well. I don't really want to mulligan versus the counterspell deck when I've got somewhat functional mana. It's got its issues for sure. But just like basic mountain here is just so good. We got 16 of them. So it's like 1 and 4, right? But even if they ninjas this turn, we have the removal spell, and then we get back to work grinding through resources, and we're just okay with all of that. It's not pretty, but we firebolt here. You don't really want to. Like, if they have Sprite and then Ninja, then this sequence works out very good for them, but it's got to be the 1-mana Ninja to, again, be really punished for it. Looks like they've got the 2-mana Ninja, which is still rough, but we can fight through it. No? Okay. Looks like maybe a Blue Blast or a Snap. Counterspell on my Firebolt makes me feel pretty good about my life choices. We kind of knew all of that was happening. It's just, do you have a Ninja right here? No. Like, that's good for us. I think I just want to get the Swift Spirit down and just keep putting pressure on. Cast Chain Lightning while they can't reflect it. And just... yeah. What a weird game. They're usually not protecting the threat. Okay, here's the bad part. Here's the bad news. Ponder that finds the Ninja. Although I suppose if they're thinking about stacking it, it wasn't just slamming the Ninja and an untapped land. once again, just really great cohesion between the intro and the matches of the league. I try to make this decision to downplay Goldath Rebirth. Imagine Rebirth on this board. Disgusting. Right, so they don't have Ninja, which makes sense, like why that Ponder took time. Just want to force a counter spell with like the least mana intensive, so then we can go Rage Hound with this land, or maybe Impulse. Probably Rage Hound though. I really want to put the pressure back on them. And if this resolves, we just play the Synthesizer subgame, and are quite happy to do so. This is fine-ish. I don't love that I've only got one threat in play, and my life total is starting to get a little low, and they do have some number of lightning bolts, but... Okay, Brainstorm is a very, very, very good card to top deck. And you just have to hope that it's all bad, and they have no shuffles, but they're moving to combat right away, so there's a Ninja in there, and it's the... Oh, 2 mana? 2 mana Ninja. Okay, no untapped land? Indeed, okay. But they've also just, like, tapped out. So I gotta get my impulse in. Why did I do it this way? I mean, I think this is actually quite okay, but I don't know why I did it this way. I should have just used the bolt that was exiled. I'm just gonna kill the Fairy Seer here. We know they have a Spellstutter Sprite in hand, so I'm just like getting a 1-drop out of my zone. Like, this is okay. They Blue Blast my Whisper, it's fine. It was whatever. Croxa's going to be coming back this turn. No cards with Augur. Okay. I like a lot of this. Oh. Oh wait, no, they have a Sprite in hand, William. They have a Sprite in hand. Just Croxa them. Next turn we can Synthesizer. This Ponder isn't going to be able to hit Removal Spell and Ninja, most likely. Very likely to do one of the two, but not both. Totally fine. Just gonna do it again. Resolve this now, although I don't have like an incentive to play those spells until next turn. I do have to Galvanic Blast the sprite now. If they have interaction for this, play continues, but cool, they do. We're still in fine shape. We got that. This one was all Rage Hound. Not all, like mostly Rage Hound. Like he did so much this match. Just should I be sideboarding two of these just to like dunk on fairies when they show up? Probably not. But by God, that was so much fun. That was so good. Okay, we are 1-1, and I'm smiling. That's good. See you for the next one. Okay, round number 3 starting. We are versus Melodier. I don't know anything about this user, but this hand is great. And I think I'm just leading on Epicure. Feel out what matchup this will be. A bad one. Although we have drawn double Flame Breather, which is nice. But just want to get our damage in on board, since this is going to be a Sacred Cat deck, whatever configuration they may have. If this is Naya or Jeskai, we just want to be... Okay, looks like Naya. So Naya might be... Ooh. Don't mind if I do. Okay. Wait, I said Naya, and then this is green, black, and white, red. Okay, so we've got a little something more confusing brewing over there. I don't think Naya traditionally has a black splash. Or if they did, it'd be for Suffocating Fumes, but if it was Suffocating Fumes, you wouldn't just snap off this trade. I don't think. I don't know. Green white on this gate, so leaning back towards being Naya mostly. And it's my turn. My turn. Sometimes they play Destroy Evil. So I don't want to do like 2 Swift Spear triggers this turn. Seems like a bad play, but like I'm already pretty incentivized to do Flame Breather stuff, so I'm just gonna go to combat and attack. If they bolt me, I'm kind of okay with it. Everything. Terminate. Terminate in the year of our Lord 2023. Okay. I accept. Now here's a card that I'm going to make you wish you terminated instead. Journey to Nowhere would be pretty good for him here. Oh, I really wanted to say this Lightning Bolt for Sacred Cat, but that right there is pretty juicy. So I think I'm just gonna kill this. Okay, Bolt is pretty good for him. But this is still like not a Sacred Cat threatening an attack, which is just going to be very good for us. If I synth into Implement, even if the synth card doesn't matter, they're in a tough spot. But the synth card matters a lot. Okay. So gates. We're just gonna call it Naya Gates. I don't know if Naya plays Inspiring Overseer. I mean, I don't see why not. They're an Ephemerate deck. It goes pretty well. It does make End the Festivities a little bit more appealing. I don't believe we can Rage Hound because they're not. I mean, Terminate is the kind of thing you would want Rage Hound against, but well, it's pretty. I mean, Guardian of the Guild Pact is the one like this interacts very badly with. This is very bad versus Guardian and 5/5s. I don't want relics until I'm shown more. Same with Flaring Pain. Do I have a Naya Gates list on my over here? I don't think I do. No. Punished. Don't really want to open up Goldfish because I close my web browsers to record because it makes the potato happier. The potato on my laptop is happier recording with only the recording software and Magic Online. So I don't know about Strands, but I suppose Flaring Pain, because they are most likely a Guardian deck in some number. And Flaring Pain's also just like pretty efficient. Maybe I go like these 6 and once again hit our usual suspects of the Voldaren Epicure because it's just never getting in on the ground, and then the Implements, which are just cantrips and not extremely exciting cards. And maybe we go like that. This hand is delightful. I'm happy to be a part of it. They do have the 2-mana Dominaria United card that's got 3 modes, the Smash to Dust, I think. So it is going to be vital that we lead on Mountain here and not our artifact land, because it is a liability. They have Bolt here, that's going to be good for them. So I don't know if I've ever mentioned this explicitly in a video before, but something you may notice I do is I incessantly alphabetize my hand from left to right, and I sort by non-creature spells, then creatures, then lands, then creatures on the furthest right. But it is kind of moderately pleasing that we've got E, F, G, I, L, and it's like pretty close to a sequence there. That's all. I don't know. Sometimes your brain just notices things like that, and you're like, hey, that's kind of neat. We're playing the removal prowess game. If our opponent does not have removal spells, this is going to be a short game. Humorously Flaring Pain is going to get us through a Guardian. Although I would need another land for that to get off the ground and like actually have enough power. But it could happen. Well, we're just gonna cast our cantrip and Chain Lightning this because it's a blocker, and also they're an ephemerate deck, so you just take those opportunities when you can. Put our opponent to 8 while we've got this Bolt plus Implement. Certainly Sacred Cat is a very scary card right now, but it's going to pretend it doesn't exist. Reckless Impulse is a great draw. Probably the best non-land to draw. And once again, I think we're just going to keep the board clear of Ephemerate. And with Synthesizer and Reckless Impulse, if they play a Sacred Cat, there's like a reasonable chance we can find a removal spell for it. There's the big old boy. And we're just going to do that now. I don't believe I can die here. I guess if they had third Basilisk Gate, they don't have the activations for it. So I'm feeling somewhat okay about our ability to win here, because we're going to be able to like realistically deal 5 damage, which gets through a Dawnbringer Cleric, or an Overseer plus Ephemerate, which are cards that are likely still being accessed. The Gatekeepers would be very bad. That would be very bad for us. Okay. So this plus Ephemerate would be spooky. But if they just suit up, I believe this is cannot go wrong territory as long as I sequence right. Because this is our artifact. And we also just get to totally destroy our opponent's spirit by making it look like we top-decked it. We did have this, but that's mean right there. That's what that is. Just, hey, I needed that Synthesizer to hit, but I didn't. I didn't need it. So, yeah. That matchup seems challenging. But that is the joy of this red deck, is all of these decks can be challenging for you, but you've got consistency. You are just putting low CMC threats into play, and they're very dangerous. So even once they stabilize the board, you have to stabilize your board and your life total, and that's just not easy to do. So, 2 and 1. Let's keep it going. See you for round 4. Okay. Round number 4 is up through the power of the internet. The 2 weeks that have passed between match 3 and match 4 will have passed in an instant. This hand is interesting, because like one-landers are not something I'm super interested in, but like Swift and 2 removal spells is like kind of interesting, and this is a tough hand to look at when you haven't played Magic for 2 weeks, because I'm like, am I going to get baited by this hand and just keep it, or keep it and then do nothing on one land, or draw a land in the first 2 draw steps and peel? I think I'm going to keep it, but don't know my opponent here, so I'm sure. It didn't matter, because we're playing versus Boggles. Excellent. I have actually beaten Boggles once with this deck, which is pretty funny. Just drawing like all 4 Galv Blasts was smart, but yeah, we're probably pretty rough shape here. Second Swift Spear is a nice draw here, but not for this matchup. I will concede to the Armadillo Cloak. That's also just going to do it because we cannot block that next turn. Okie doke. So, end the festivities is kind of the only thing we got going on. And the artifacts are like kind of nice, but these are just too slow, I think. Or we need to be a little bit more efficient prowessy. Throwing burn spells. I have seen what's the card? The 1 white flyer that's a 1/1 with protection from red. It's got 2 little goblins shooting at Freewind Falcon. I think Freewind Falcon is. I've seen that, so like Flaring Pain is not entirely useless in the matchup, but I don't feel like that's a realistic plan. So I think I'm happy just to submit it like this. Alright, this is really close to what I would consider a perfect hand, right? Like, we've got 2 prowess creatures to try to push through a bunch. So, and we've got 1 End the Festivities and a card draw spell and our most efficient burn spell. I mean, I guess Galvanic Blast is kind of slightly more efficient, but like, it's Lightning Bolt. It's not a stretch to say it's the best card, the best burn spell. Great. So, our opponent is also presumably using their brain, so this festivities might not have a target. They might be patient enough to go, like Forge, Bogle, Ethereal Armor, and then we never have a window, but that's okay. Okay, there it is. And we will synth first. I think I will hold the End the Festivities, because clearing another blocker is something that will certainly have the opportunity to come up. I'm just gonna get my damage in. So if they have Cloak, we've got a game. Okay. Interesting. So a thought I could have had on the last turn was like holding the bolts, so that if we attack into an Armadillo Cloak, we could bolt the thing that's blocked by the Armadillo Cloak creature. But I was pretty happy just to fire that off for damage upstairs. So now it's clear that they don't have an Armadillo Cloak. I think we're just reckless impulsing here. Sorry, this has not been the most cohesive analysis so far. Definitely play the Great Furnace here. I'm thinking that I may actually just want to end the festivities here, because we're not getting in on combat anytime soon. Well, the concern is that on our next turn, we have, like, let's say if we just draw a land or like something inconsequential, and we want to activate Synth, I would like to have my opponent at a low enough life total to kill them with some cards that I draw. So how different is 5 from 6 on that? And I guess the answer is probably not big enough when we may like draw 2 creatures next turn with the Synth in our draw step. So yeah, let's hold it. Like a Swift, if we have this End the Festivities in hand, a Swift Spear is a good draw. I think I'm still bolting upstairs end of turn though. Okay, well now we're absolutely bolting upstairs. This is only bad if we draw like Swift Spear right now, but I think there's like more draws in our deck that are not Swift Spear that we want to try to work through. So now we just have to pass here. If they Spirit Link, we can survive them gaining 4 life. If it gets much worse, we cannot. Okay, gaining 10 life is worse. 12 life. And they're probably comfortable enough to attack. Yeah. Yep. It's kind of interesting. So we Firebolt here. And then we'll shoot upstairs. Crack in for some damage here. We're pretty toast. Okay, now we're just actually dead. see it for the final one. See if we can get another 3-2. Okay, round number 5 versus the Crazy Dentist. Not a user I know anything about. Once again, presented with a 1-lander on the draw. That is very functional on 1 land, but is it good? Not the 0. I want the smiley face. Gosh, yeah, this hand's awkward. I do think I'm going to keep it, but this has a very significant fail rate. But for the mirror, we are pretty well set up, I think, because we got a lot of cheap interaction. Boom. Yes. Yes. Okay. We're not like in absurd shape, but that's just like, now we're pretty well set up to just play a lot of Magic. And they're choosing to put Burning Prophet into play, so that's a little slight concern that maybe they have mutagenic growth in their deck, but this is what our hand does, so we're just going to do it. And it appears that is the case. So it's got 3 damage marked on it, and it's got 5 toughness. So, yeah, I'll offer this trade. I don't think I'm blocking this turn. Some of these Epicures can definitely block, but the Swiftspear I'm kind of interested in. This is slightly concerning. But I'm very comfortable firing off the Firebolt here. I think I will see if they call my bluff here, because I'm not really going to... Yeah, okay, I'm not blocking with Swiftspear. And I'm comfortable tossing this one down for a chump. Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah, just have 5 of the threats. Am I dead right now? Okay, well, it's nice that they just did that on the main phase. I don't think this is dead, but I'm very close to dead. This is 11, so I'm at 3. I scryed to the top, which is pretty terrifying. So I believe we're just going Epicure. See if we can find some space to draw out of it. Yeah, so we cannot beat that by any stretch. We just had to chump everything this turn. Everything's a lethal threat, and then because they hit the best possible mutagenic growth. Although, like, land Lava Dart might have arguably been better. I thought it was like Rage Hound versus like Epicures, I guess. I kind of like. I know Rage Hound has to attack, but being able to block this block a creature on the turn it comes down is helpful, and they are a Lava Dart deck. So I guess, the trading on mana is kind of worse in that spot, but being able to come back, I think, is going to be helpful when we are definitively the control deck in this matchup. And we are probably just going to, again, keep this one lander. Because we have so much interaction. We can hopefully just... Oh, maybe I should have kept the land up for Swift Spear. No, okay. I'm not discarding here, so I think I would... Because I do have these bridges in my deck. Lava Dart me. Okay. I guess that makes sense. Use our sorcery speed option when available. But also just going to be bolting on the main phase to prevent the damage from the spell that they would be casting. Save, 4 life there. So we're probably dead now, but what can you do? I'm not sure mulliganing the hand with 4 removal spells versus the prowess deck is like the right thing to do anyway. I feel pretty comfortable with that, but kind of a tough way for the league to end, but oh, we're not dead. Hopefully they just run out of gas now, as is kind of the issue with that deck. Okay, that's actually pretty nice for us here. I want to make sure we do this outside of combat, but... Okay. I think I'm just going to play the Rage Hound, because I think with all these spells that I do sort of want to target the Forge Chanter at some point, I need to get this Lava Dart out of the graveyard. And either they're using a spell to remove the Rage Hound, or they're... Yeah, like, okay, so this is fine. We do have these synthesizers, but I think right here we're just doing the Forge Chanter. They can reflect back. This is costly for us for sure, but they have another 2 mana here, so I cannot afford to toss it back. And I will just leave up my Galvanic Blast. They have a Swift Spear. Can get one of these down. Ooh. Ooh, is that a... That's a best possible right there, because now we can synth again. And get a Galvanic Blast on this Festival Crasher. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't even need to do it right now, but I'm going to do it right now. Because that's how interacting with powerless creatures works. We get to like survive a smash to smithereens if they brought that in, which is pretty cool. That was a really sick parasynths there. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's still dead to this double bolt that you have in hand because I haven't played any creatures that you've needed to interact with, and that's why you would hold them. But yeah, it's okay. We had our moment. Oh, not dead? Not dead. Let's go. So if I Flame Breather and Swift Spear into Firebolt, I am doing 5 this turn, plus 6 of the Epicure, put them down to 10. I think it's better to Rage Hound here. Especially just because also like having this is a better blocker. I preserve my removal spell for a creature that they may have, like another Kiln Fiend, but still just like very dead to a Lightning Bolt. I don't think second Swift Spear actually changes the math too much here, other than just now we're not Firebolting. Just slap them around for 7, put this blocker into play, and say just it's got to be Bolt or Impulse into Bolt. Fire Blast will do it too. Oh, okay. Alright, that was a tense game. Smash to Smithereens is good to know about. But it's a tough spell for them to hold up. So we can be somewhat conscientious about playing around that, but also like we kind of need to like turn our Galvanic Blasts on so that we have more creature interaction for the 3 toughness creatures. This is kind of hard to do. But I still largely like our sideboarding. Or actually, maybe I don't know. I think we got to mulligan this 5-lander, no interaction. I'm not thrilled about this, but I will keep it and bottom the Great Furnace because I will use my. No, they're gonna have a smash target with this, so like that's Metalcraft actually. So I will use my brain and try not to play into it. Swift Spear's gonna. Ooh, okay, okay. Just get my tap land into play. I have no instance. I am playing Sorcery Speed Ape Magic right now. Kiln Fiend. Show me Kiln Fiend. These also are acceptable. Get my Flame Breather down on a turn where they have to have land to cast these 2 spells to like hang with everything. Or, yeah, then they start spewing resources, and that's good for me. I'm just going to do the Chain Lightning. If they have Mutagenic Growth, that's okay. Mutagenic Growth is a pretty costly spell. I think I'm just going to go Epicure, Epicure. We are exposing the Great Furnace to a smash to smithereens, but if that is their entire turn and then we just go synth and like slap for a couple damage, I think we're in pretty good shape. I think I'll lead on synth here. I don't know, maybe this is a little greedy. Certainly worked out. Guess there's no need to do Galvanic Blast right now. If I blast upstairs and I put them to 5. No. This is... Alright, be a coward. Be a coward, Water. Just use your removal spells. Be the control deck you always want to be. Yes, Reckless Impulse. The 3-2 dream is happening. The 3-2... Okay, this is medium draws. But the 3-2 dream is happening. I mean, kind of. If they just have, like, another Kiln Fiend and then have the... Well, no, since I guess when we're casting this Firebolt 100%, they're taking 3 damage. So they need to have 2 blockers here, plus some more interaction. I think we are actually in, like, pretty good shape. Looks like Morphos. Yeah. So, something else that's been in the back of my mind, one of the coolest cycles that has come to Pauper recently is the Tolarian Terror cycle from Dominaria United. Now, granted, I just loved that format. Sorry, just a second. No, my GGs didn't go through, but good games, Crazy Dentist. That was a delightful match. Not just because I won, but even if I lost that game, both the first 2 games were very good back and forth. So the Tolarian Terror cycle is just so cool. From Dominaria United, obviously Terror is the best for constructed. Because instants and sorceries are the easiest thing to put in the graveyard and something you want to naturally be doing anyway. And then obviously for our format, Thought Scour and Mental Note are great pickups for that. The other cards in that cycle are pretty cool as well. Writhing Necromass, I've tried out on the advice of Belina 911 in the sideboard of Cycle Storm, which is pretty cool. The white and green ones are definitely like lower power, although I have a domain brew that's been percolating in the back of my brain with the Yavimaya Sojourner that's intriguing me. But the one that I'm thinking of is, I think it's Molten Monstrosity is the red one, where it's a 7-drop that costs 1 less for each, or it might be 8. But it costs 1 less for X less for where X is the greatest power among creatures you control, which I think is like a pretty interesting thing as like an additional prowessy threat, but does kind of, it's interesting because it does have like big toughness, so it can tangle with the Gurmag Angler pretty easily. It can tangle with opposing terrors, survive Galvanic Blast, eat Mere Enforcers. Like, it gets to a pretty important threshold, but it involves untapping with like a prowess creature, and that's sort of like not an issue for the deck. It's the fact that untapping with a prowess creature is kind of difficult. But in my exploration of that like space, like, it does highlight why is this deck good? Why is the red deck good? So much better than the prowess decks. No offense to my opponent or people trying to work on it, but like, it is Synthesizer. It's this card, because we saw our opponent have just 4 Reckless Impulse, and that wasn't quite enough to keep them going into the late game. But we have the Synthesizer, and it's this combination of 8 that makes looking at other mono red strategies that are just like only playing Synthesizer or only playing Impulse, it just does not hold up. It's having access to both of these and being able to adequately support both of them with these interactive spells that go face. That is just so crucial, because it's not trivial to have all of that work out. Like, for example, in game 1, where the opponent went Reckless Impulse into Mutagenic Growth Lava Dart, like, there's a lot of game states where that's completely useless if you don't have a creature in play, if you're like, they're playing more from behind. So generally, like, this archetype is better constructed to make use of these impulse draws just being good all the time. You can always do something with them, which is, yeah, like, easier said than done, where like the Kiln Fiend deck that existed like when Swiftspear first got added to the format, which is really cool. It doesn't have that same cleanness in construction. It's harder to sequence with some of those impulse draws, and things can just line up more awkwardly, whereas like being a burn deck is a great backup plan for this, because you just start throwing things face, and it's just very good to do. That's a very simple and effective backup plan to implement, which is great. So yeah, also Mutagenic Growth in like the format where Galvanic Blast is one of the most played cards is kind of tough on you. So not only are you like losing creatures, but like when you're engaging with your combat tricks, you're just dying quicker, and that's just a rough space to be in. But I feel pretty good about escaping with a 3-2 that league. I think the mono blue, I think, is just kind of a bad matchup when they have main deck Brine Barrow Intruder. Which I am definitively a hater of that card. I do also want to talk about that match a little bit. So I did get I was salty about those games, and I distinctly used the phrase, I think, I hate you. And if you've been watching like this channel and me for like long enough, you know that when I hope that it's apparent when I say something like that, I'm talking about the cards here. I have a lot of respect for all my opponents. I'm glad that, we're all playing this game together and hopefully having a good time. But it's just, I do have a real hatred for Ninja of the D-Powers and Spellsetter Sprite. at this point, and it's nothing against my opponents. It's just I do not like the tension that those cards bring to a game. The threat of activation for them is just so powerful. It makes every draw step a massive sweat, and so much like unknown information that you have to play around is just really you have to always be on edge versus it, and it's not the most replayable experience because like every combat starts to feel the same because you have to treat it like there's a ninja there or there's a spell stutter sprite there. And the difference between those draws and like their good draw steps and the bad ones are just so dramatic that it's when that deck isn't drawing hot, it's really, really bad. So those kind of swings are not, it's just cards that I don't like. So again, just to reiterate, nothing against my opponent there. Just the beats on that one were pretty sick. I think it made for good content too. I don't want to be a lifeless narrator of these games. I do want to get a little bit emotionally invested, and that means like getting a little bit frustrated when I get beat up like that. That's okay, because even now, if you can't hear it from the tone of my voice, I find it funny. It was a sick match. Like, I got destroyed. And that's part of the range of Magic, and you gotta be able to appreciate that. So yeah, that was the mono blue matchup. I think like we're like slightly favored there. It's certainly a lot more favored since we're not playing Kuldotha Rebirth, and I feel like reinforced of that being kind of the construction I want to move forward with. Beating up on blue-red fairies and this prowess deck are like, both of those decks are like very reasonable and powerful decks, but not decks that are like present in the metagame that I want to be preparing for, but both matchups that we won by having the card advantage in our deck of Synthesizer and Reckless Impulse really just did a tremendous amount of work for. So, while like Swift Spear is kind of like the name brand card of the deck, neither of those matchups were really won because of Swift Spear. So it's not quite so simple. And then beating the Gates Ephemerate deck was, I'm not certain how that should play out, because it looked like my opponent was not on like a 4 Cerulean Gatekeeper bunch with a couple of Ephemerates kind of thing, due to like the Black Splash for Terminate being pretty important to them and like making their mana awkward in game 1. So like they paid the price for their mana base, although they have the tools to beat us. So I'm not really certain how that's supposed to play out. And it's harder to know without knowing exactly what their deck list is, because those like Naya Gates-ish deck, it's not a... you can predict a lot of the cards that'll be in your opponent's deck, but I haven't seen like a really solidified deck around it either. So that makes it slightly more difficult to develop a good understanding of the matchup. But it was cool with how that one played out too. And then Boggles is... in a very interesting space in the metagame that like it's always not always going to beat us, but like it's going to be very good versus us in particular, and it's going to struggle versus others. So like main deck Heart Clan Shaman out of Affinity makes Boggles an embarrassing deck to play, in addition to, you know, Counterspell and Chainer's Edict from the Terror deck can be very difficult. And people are playing a lot of sweepers for X1s that hit Rebirth tokens that are just going to incidentally do a lot of damage to Boggles, in addition to like Destroy Evil is just a playable Magic card in this format. So Boggles is in a pretty rough place from that perspective. So like, and you know, we still have End the Festivities that our opponent had to respect, and they did. You know, they mulliganed to a hand with a free Wind Falcon, so it's like certainly something that they can do, but you know, our opponent made some pretty conscious decisions there to be aware of our deck, and I think there's a reasonable number of games with Boggles where you don't always get that flexibility, and then you just kind of die to one end the festivities, and it's a little rough. The flip side of that is like Heroic, Mono White Heroic is like another interesting Voltron strategy at the moment, which has like different weaknesses, but like some real potential power there, where like Mono White is way better versus things like Quark Clan Shaman, and the festivities, fiery cannonade, all that kind of stuff, all that damage based removal is going to be less useful largely versus Heroic if they've got their own free Wind Falcons or Laguna Band Trailblazer to start things off. So can tackle some like interesting some of the prevalent matchups can be a lot better. Like Spirit Link, I think, is a significant upgrade for that deck as well. Being added to the format recently with Dominaria Remastered, I think is that one. Having Dominaria United and Remastered, like, be similar sounding names coming out recently. That's tough on my brain. But I do think like Heroic has some real upside compared to Boggles, but then also like, are you playing creatures that can be targeted? So now Dimir Terror with 4 Snuff Out in the main deck is just an abysmal matchup. So it's a mixed bag, but there's some interesting space. Like I'm probably not the player that's going to do that, but to really give like both of those Voltron decks a fair shake and figure out which is really the better one to be on at the moment, I think is a pretty interesting problem to solve. And the answer is not obvious to me. Although, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just Boggles because it has been like... The easy answer to say Boggles there is that over the years of Pauper, Boggles has been a far more consistently powerful strategy to be playing than Heroic, which might mean that it is more at this time. But it's an interesting question, some food for thought there. Boy howdy, I do love having some... thoughts to mull over. That's a fun one to revisit. But this will do it for the red deck. I feel pretty good about how it's built right now. These relics still kind of just there for terror only. Occasionally bully other players. Not super attached to them, but I think they're fine for now. Spare supplies didn't come up the whole league. Even when it will come up, it's very low impact. Probably still going to play the one because it's just really cute and I like it for now. But what I would recommend for other people to play is just the 4th implement over that. And then like the rest of this 75 is something I would highly recommend to anybody looking to pick the deck up. And I think that moving away from Rebirth is the right thing at the moment. Especially because we got to cut like the stars. Not that Chromatic Star is that bad. It can only be so bad, but it certainly helps. And Firebolt, it's I love Firebolt so much, as you can tell from these leagues so far, and what we just played was such an unfair look at Firebolt, where I played versus a Kiln Fiend deck and 2 fairy strategies, and like, it's the dream for Firebolt. Like, this is exactly what this card is good at beating up on the format, and those are not representative decks of the metagame, but like, it felt so good. It felt so good in those matchups that I probably will con myself into playing these for quite a bit longer. I think Firebolt and Implement / Spare Supplies are the cards that I think like I could be most convinced are there's a better build that exists out there somewhere. If somebody can like rework this way to keep the artifact count high, because Galvanic Blast is really important. I don't know what it would be, but like these are definitely just the weakest cards. So again, food for thought, things to mull over. What kind of ways we could tweak it from here, but Yeah, that ended up being a bit of a long-winded outro for the 3-2, but I don't know. You know these videos by now. I always have a lot to say. And I like to ramble. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of all of this, if this is a bad idea or if this is like pretty reasonable to you as well. Always interested in hearing that feedback, and I'll see you next time. Hopefully, I don't know. I still might be on the deck. It's been really fun, but I do want to try to, like, the format's in a really great spot. So like I want to, it is in my best interest just to like experience variety and, you know, enjoy Magic as a hobby, to dip my toes into some of the other cool decks that are out there at the moment. So might do some of that, or might just keep trying to bash my head against a wall and get a trophy with this. But either way, thanks for watching. Hope you have a good day, and we'll see you next time.